Okay. Just going to give it maybe a few more seconds and then we'll get started. All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for checking out our Zoom Around the World coffee chat today. My name is Francesca Marabali and I'm joined by my colleagues Virginia Gabby and Emily Colby. I think now more than ever, students are eager to maximize their time abroad, and what better way to do that than through friendship and feeling part of your local community. So for our topic today, we've asked our stellar IES ambassadors who are here with us today to share their tips to make the most of your time abroad. Before diving in, just two quick notes. First, this session is being recorded and will be posted to our website. And second, you can post any questions in the Q&A below and we'll address them later in this presentation. So I hope you have your coffee or tea or whatever on hand. I know I do. And let's start with a quick background of IES Abroad, and then I'll hand the floor over to the IES ambassadors. IES Abroad is a non-for-profit organization dedicated to study abroad for over 70 years now. We are a proud leader in the field of international education with over 150,000 alumni. We partner with over 260 colleges and universities just like yours, and we offer center-based programs, which means that IES students have an IES center as their home base while abroad. Our local staff will support you on site and be your resource for any personal, academic, or medical needs, very similar to a student services office offered on your home campus. Additionally, by awarding $6 million in scholarships and aid each year, we are committed to making study abroad an affordable and accessible undergraduate experience. So where can you study with IES Abroad? We have over 140 study abroad and internship programs in 34 locations around the world. So we offer a little bit of everything. For example, you can enroll in a course at one of our centers where you'll take classes alongside students attending US colleges and universities. You also have the option to directly enroll in courses at a local university abroad. Facilitating community, which we'll be talking about today, is an integral aspect to all IES Abroad programs. Upon your arrival on site, you'll participate in a required orientation, which is a great way to meet your fellow program peers. During the semester, as a way to learn more about your host city and also engage with your local community, you'll have the opportunity to participate in field trips, community-based learning, and volunteering. Imagine you're eager to meet local students, but might be a little nervous about how to go about doing that. And our language partner programs are an excellent resource. For example, the IES Tokyo Center has developed an EPAL program, which matches IES Abroad students with Japanese university students. We also offer a similar program in Quito, Ecuador, where IES students are matched with Ecuadorian university students. So how can you learn more about your options? Talking to IES ambassadors who previously participated on our programs is an excellent first step, and we're about to hear from them in a moment. And you can also view blog posts and videos from our IES correspondents to see the on-site experiences from their perspective. And of course, don't forget to check us out on all the social media channels. And finally, just a quick reminder about your next steps if you do plan to study abroad. The most important thing to do is to contact your academic and study abroad advisors on your home campus to discuss your study abroad options and fulfilling degree requirements. Then you can start working on our free online application, and of course, contact us if you need any guidance or assistance along the way. Okay, I'll now turn things over to my colleague, Emily.
Thanks, Francesca. As she mentioned, we're really excited to have 4 of our student ambassadors here today to share a bit more about their experiences and advice for making the most of their time abroad. So I'm going to invite each of them to introduce themselves, starting with Autumn.
Hi, my name is Autumn. I study neuroscience at Lafayette College in Easton, Pennsylvania. And I went in spring 2020 on IES Madrid Math, Science, and Engineering program.
Thanks, Autumn. And now we'll go to Miles.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Miles Nappert. I'm a senior at Bates College, double majoring in politics and Spanish, with minor in history. And I went to Madrid, Spain during the fall of 2019.
Awesome. Thanks, Miles. Sydney?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sydney. I go to Colby, and I'm a senior studying neuroscience. I didn't know that Miles went to Bates actually. We're technically rivals, but we're friendly on this call. And I did the Amsterdam Gender Studies program in the summer of 2019.
Thanks, Sydney. And Valencia.
Hi everyone, my name is Valencia and I did the Santiago, Chile program in the spring of 2019. I studied at Grinnell College. I studied biology and Latin American studies.
Awesome. Well, thank you all again for being here today. I have prepared some questions for each of you so we can hear a little bit more about opportunities that you found and created for yourselves abroad. So I want to start by kind of exploring the theme of forming friendships abroad. Starting with Valencia, can you tell us a little bit more about your expectations for making friends on the program, or anything in the beginning of your program that helped you start to form friendships with your peers?
Yeah, of course. So before arriving to our program, we all received a list of the participants in our program, when they were going to be arriving on the plane, and everything related to their home college and that kind of stuff. And I got to know the people in my program very well because we spent a lot of time together during IES classes, trips during orientation, including going to the beach and going to different parts of Chile throughout the program. And then we also live near each other in our host families and just in general our transportation and whatnot. But I got to know my fellow peers very well and honestly still talk to them to this day.
Awesome. Thanks, Valencia. I think we definitely find that IES Abroad students form those close bonds, especially you're all in a new place, kind of trying to get out and go exploring together. Miles, and I have the same question for you. Can you tell us a bit about your expectations going into the program and how you started to build friendships in Madrid?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Emily. I was very nervous heading in. This was going to be my first study abroad experience in a Spanish-speaking country for a long period of time. And I was definitely, I felt that I wouldn't fit in. And I was definitely felt that I might have not made the right choice for my study abroad program. But quickly, I guess my reservations and worries slowly dissipated because I felt like everyone was nice, from the American students in my study abroad program to the native students who I met in my dorm room, or when I ever went out to eat lunch or to the restaurant. So I feel like I sort of took a chance, and I always sort of introduced myself in Spanish, or I tried to communicate with them in the best way possible. So yeah, it was just really about taking chances, introducing myself, and being as, I guess, open-minded and friendly as possible.
Thanks, Miles. Now I want to hear a little bit from Sydney. You did a summer program, and I know you took your courses through IES Abroad on that program. I wonder if you can talk about if you found any ways to meet local students, or if you found that to be kind of challenging while you were abroad.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I'll preface this by saying that the IES Abroad courses are awesome. You learn a lot. They're very immersive. So I would highly recommend that option if it's available to people. But I don't know if it was because I was doing courses or because I was studying there in the summer, so I didn't really see many students doing things, but I actually didn't really meet with very many local students at all. I can probably think of a handful that I just met going out and doing things in Amsterdam, but I will say that not knowing local students was not by any means an impediment to feeling like I was able to be part of the greater Amsterdam community or anything like that. And if anything, it's more reassuring to have other students, whether they're in your program or other students studying abroad, that you meet, because no one really knows what they're doing versus I would imagine if you were with a local student and you were completely clueless, it would be a little bit more awkward. But it was really fun. We all got to kind of stumble through being abroad together. And since I did the summer program and was living with other students in my program, we got really, really close by doing those courses. So, yeah.
Thanks, Sydney. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. It sounds like the IES Abroad students really made a point to kind of get out and experience the city together. Valencia, I know you also only took your courses through IES Abroad, but you did have an opportunity to meet some locals in Santiago. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, first I'd like to say I agree with Sydney. I think IES classes are amazing. But on the other hand, it was my goal to get to know as many Chileans as possible. So I did a little bit of research before arriving in terms of soccer teams I could join. I played soccer in Grinnell before I graduated. So I thought that it would be easy for me to be able to play soccer in Chile. And exactly that happened. I was able to join a team, 30 plus different Chileans at a university. I got to play with them. I got to join them post-game celebrations. I got to get to know their families whenever they came to watch them play. And it was just really, it felt like I was really a part of the Chilean community while I was playing on that team. It made a difference.
That's awesome. I think a lot of students find that kind of pursuing their existing extracurricular passions or interests while abroad is a really great way to kind of make those natural connections with locals. And kind of sticking with this theme, I want to turn it over to Miles to hear a little bit more about kind of building community abroad. So Miles, can you tell us ways that you found to engage with your community through things like volunteering or any other activities?
Yes, I guess one of the many things that I struggled with was, in fact, I guess finding community. Even though I had my friends from the program, I just felt like I wasn't really interacting with the Madrid populace enough. And so it was kind of out of the blue, sort of my volunteering experience, so to speak. So I was essentially walking down the street one day. I think, headed back from the gym, or headed towards the gym, and I ran into this guy who was part of Herbalife Nutrition. It was just essentially a clinic for athletes or people who would go to the gym. We focused on, as the title says, nutrition. So focusing on dieting and good health and good culture and stuff like that. And so essentially, my partnership with them, or my volunteering experience, was essentially meeting other athletes, meeting other people who would routinely go to the gym. And it was just more than just working out or talking about dieting. We talked a lot about mental health and the stigmas that came with going to the gym, or overcoming certain stereotypes or health deficiencies or health problems that a lot of us have dealt with over our lives. So it really became sort of a safe space that I never thought would be possible while studying abroad, because it's of course very difficult to talk about mental health here in the States, but overseas in a place such as Spain, I didn't feel like conversations like that happened. So I was pleasantly surprised and very thankful to have that community in Herbalife Nutrition.
Thanks for sharing that, Miles. I think that's, again, another great example of kind of finding people with shared interests that can really help you build that community connection. And Valencia, I know you also did some volunteering while you were abroad and even engaged in activism in Santiago. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experiences with those things?
Yeah, of course. I participated in the internship program through IES, which placed me with a community organization focusing on helping migrant children adjust to Chilean society. So I was able to work very closely with these children from other parts of South America and even Haiti sometimes, and help them with tutoring in them in biology, in math, in science. And then I also helped plan a cultural parade later that semester, in which we celebrated the backgrounds of these children. They were able to do their little dances that they choreographed together, walk on their stilts that they made together, and I helped them make. So it made me feel really part of the community, the immigrant community there. And considering I'm also an immigrant here in the United States, second generation, I felt like I could relate to them in that way. And then also on my soccer team, I felt, most of them, if not all of them, were part of the LGBTQ community. And it felt really empowering to be around so many women identifying people and fight for the rights of women in sports, which you don't really see as much of that in the United States, because we don't need to fight as much as they do in Latin America. So it felt really empowering to kind of have that in the forefront while I was playing soccer with them.
Yeah, that's awesome, Valencia. Again, not only finding those shared interests, but also finding common beliefs and kind of common goals with your host community is really awesome. So next, I want to think a little bit about kind of what made your experiences in your chosen location so special. So I'm going to turn it to Autumn and ask if you can share a story or an experience that illustrates a time that you really felt connected with the culture of your host country.
Yeah, so one of the things that I took part in when I was abroad was the Intercambio program. So basically, you could, if you felt like your level of Spanish was like very beginner, then you could be paired up with another Spanish student who thought that their level of English was more beginner, and you guys would just have like one-on-one conversations. But if you were more intermediate or had a background in Spanish at all, you could join a group that was about half Spanish students and half of IES participants. And you would just get together once a week and meet up at any of like the local restaurants or places and just speak half of the time in Spanish, half the time in English. And we like play games and stuff. And one of the Spanish students organized it. And so she would decide where we went every week. And it was such a great opportunity to actually like connect with those people and connect with the students in Spain, especially since my program did allow me to take classes at a university in Spain as well. So it was kind of nice to like have those connections there. And we would play, one time we played this game with, we would like all write down movies, and then like, it was like headbands and you'd hold them on your head, and then you had to ask questions in your not native language and try to guess what movie it was. And so that one was one of the times I felt the most connected, just with the people there and with the culture, because she would try to take us to places that were very connected to Madrid's culture. And then also Spain's a very Catholic country, and I'm also Catholic, and I went to mass at a lot of very beautiful cathedrals while I was there. And so that was it was just a really awesome experience to be able to experience mass in such a historical place.
Autumn, thanks. That's awesome. Thanks, Autumn. I know, like Francesca mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, kind of that there are a lot of student groups on different programs, and I'm glad that you were able to take advantage of one of those. Sydney, I want to ask you kind of a similar question. How were you able to connect with the culture in Amsterdam during your time there over the summer?
Yeah, I would say that there were a few things that I wanted to really fully experience and take advantage of when I was there, and one of which was the food. I will say Amsterdam is a wonderful, wonderful place to study abroad. I would recommend it to anybody, but I wouldn't go solely for the food. uh, they have this delicacy. I think it's Hagelschlagen or something like that, and it's just toast with butter and sprinkles, but it's like widely revered as like a very, very nice confectionery delicacy or something. But so yes, that was not disappointing, but it wasn't exactly what I envisioned. And then I also, in my gender studies program, a big part of our study was looking at sex work and just looking at the legalized sex work system in Amsterdam and comparing it to other countries, including the US. And it's really hard when you grow up in this country to conceptualize sex work in a way that I feel like a Dutch person who grew up in that system would. And we had talked throughout the whole quarter about how like sex workers are really empowered because there are all these federal guidelines that keep them safe and things like that. But there was just a disconnect, and I didn't feel like I was really getting it in the way that I was supposed to. And I was walking through the red light district one day, and there's this rule that you can't take photos of the woman in the windows because you're supposed to respect their privacy and anonymity. And then I was just walking around and I saw this one woman grab presumably a patron's phone and just throw it into the canal because he had tried to take a photo of her. And that was the moment it really clicked for me. I was like, that's awesome. These women are so empowered to do what it is they want to do. They don't take anything from anyone. And it was cool. So yeah, I guess food, and then also just kind of trying to be on the ground and soak up as much as I can.
Yeah, and I think you raised a really good point of this kind of importance of like doing a bit of research and kind of understanding the context of the location where you're studying abroad to kind of better get integrated into the culture and community there as well. Along the same lines of kind of getting out and exploring kind of on the ground in the city, back to you, Autumn, what sources did you use to kind of find out like activities or things going on abroad to really make the most of your time there?
Yeah, so the most important thing is talk to people in your IES program, talk to people who live there, because people will tell you about things that you don't know. And personally, I'd been abroad very few times in my life, and it was never alone. So I didn't know any of these sorts of like tricks or ins and outs of traveling on a budget and things like that. And so I knew I really wanted to travel. And my one friend told me about Smart Insiders, which I think they're based in Spain, but they do programs all throughout Europe. And they have a couple of different ones. Some of them are like longer than others, and they're very reasonably priced. And they take you on a group, and it's with other people who are either traveling in small groups or traveling by themselves. And you pretty much just meet them at the place in your city. So I was in Madrid, and I just did a day trip just to kind of like ease myself into it. And we went to Salamanca and Avila, and it was so awesome. It was kind of just like, it was like you were like on a school trip. Like you had like the people there to guide you, and they, you know, would take you to museums and stuff. And it was included in the price. All like the transportation was included in the price, and then also going to the museums and like the guided tours and everything were all included. And so it was really awesome. And then they would kind of give you free time for lunch and stuff and to explore the city by yourself. So that was probably one of the best things, or one of the best resources that allowed me to really kind of explore Spain itself. Because when a lot of people are traveling also, you know, they want to check off every country they can, at least in Europe, which is amazing. But also you can't like forget about your host country because there's more cities than just the one that you're in. So that was really awesome.
Yeah, that's great. It's nice to find a kind of comfortable way to explore some of the other cities, like you said, in your host country. And Sydney, I know you did some traveling while you were abroad. Can you tell us a little bit more about, you know, kind of what opportunities you found while you were visiting other places as well?
Yeah, I made it a priority for sure to travel. My perspective on that being that, like, never again in my life will I really be able to just hop on over to France for 50 euros or something like that. So I really tried to use all of like my weekends and things like that to travel. And I do think IES does a good job of facilitating that as well. We had a few field trips to other countries, which was awesome. But I guess I wouldn't say it was an opportunity, but one experience that was kind of very magical was this summer that I traveled to Amsterdam. I had just come out a few months prior and was very sad because I was missing Pride in my home city, which is Seattle. And we were not going to be in Amsterdam long enough that we were going to be able to do Pride there. So it was something I was really bummed about. And then when we were traveling to Paris, we happened to stumble across the Pride Parade in France, which also happened to be taking place during the heat wave that happened in 2019. So it was both a really wonderful, wonderful event. There was such a sense of like community and joy and celebration, even though it was blisteringly hot. And actually, I remember this when I was thinking about this event yesterday, but we actually also ended up going to Pride in London as well the next weekend. Like Pride just kept following us wherever we went. It was awesome. But it was a cool way to get to see that celebration of identity and so many different cultures.
That is such a special surprise that you guys stumbled upon it. And I think, you know, as much as students may try to kind of plan ahead and do their research, it's kind of awesome to have that spontaneous moment where you realize you get to participate in something while you're abroad that you weren't expecting. So as we're getting close to wrapping up here, I don't want to forget that this session is our coffee chat. And I wonder, Miles, if you can share kind of your experience where you had your best cup of coffee while you were living in Madrid.
Thanks. Yeah. There was one particular, I guess, coffee shop. It's called Beatriz. Look it up on Google. It's in it's not a city. It's in the neighborhood called Moncloa. It's right near 20 minutes away, 20 minutes away from Gran Via. So yeah, that was sort of my hot, or just my regular place to get a cup of coffee. I normally don't drink coffee, or might get a Starbucks here and there, but normally I don't drink coffee back in the States. But definitely when I was abroad, I was like, when in Madrid, do what the Madrileños do. No, so I think my order was brown, 2 sugars. Maybe I put a little bit of skim milk in there as well. But definitely Beatriz was sort of my coffee place. They also have sort of great sandwiches, great salads, as well as appetizers to complement sometimes the coffee. Sometimes it was during lunchtime. Sometimes I got coffee during the evening, and then as well, people would come in if particularly when there was a football game on. People, the staff would put on the game on the TV, and a lot of people would come in and cheer on Real Madrid. And I know it gets very hectic there, and I was just trying to just blend in, and then I would just try and enjoy the atmosphere. And yeah, the staff was super nice in Beatriz, and hopefully when again, once I hopefully when the pandemic ends, I'll get to visit that coffee shop once again. So.
That's awesome. Thanks, Miles. I think you even make a good point that it's not always like how great the coffee tastes. It's definitely made even better by the atmosphere and kind of becoming like a regular in that cafe. So we're just about finished up here, and I want to thank you all again so much for sharing your experiences about meeting locals and experiencing your host culture and building community. So for our final question, I want to ask you each to share words of wisdom or advice that you have for students who are studying abroad and wondering how they can make the most of their experience. We'll go ahead and start with Autumn.
Yeah, so I knew that I wanted to travel when going to Europe. That was like one of the things I really wanted to do. And unfortunately, I got sent home like less than halfway through my experience, and I didn't get to go to as many places as I wanted to. So my advice is really just don't wait. I definitely could have taken advantage of a couple more weekends, but I was like, oh, I'm getting acclimated, like give myself a minute. I also didn't want to blow through all my money all at once. But honestly, don't worry. Just don't worry about it. Like travel as much as you can, and try to make your schedule as beneficial as possible. Like really figure out how to use the websites if you're taking classes at one of the universities in your host country, because sometimes they're kind of hard to navigate, and you definitely don't want to plan classes in a way that inhibit you traveling as much as you want to, because I think it's a really awesome experience.
Thanks, Autumn. How about you, Valencia? What advice do you have for students?
First, I want to just totally like Autumn. You want to take advantage of as much all the time that you have. A lot of people don't have the privilege to kind of just spend money, but IES does have a lot of scholarships, so take advantage. And also my advice would be to be willing to try new things. A lot of people like to stay in their comfort zone in order to, acclimate, like Autumn was saying, but try to get out of your comfort zone as much as possible and make use of your time.
Thanks, Valencia. And we'll go over to Sydney for her advice.
Yeah, my stuff has already kind of been said, but I would say like take advantage of every opportunity you have, which we've heard, but I mean, it can be really overwhelming to travel abroad, and I had a bunch of like flight issues and laptop issues, and it was very stressful those first 2 weeks, but like nonetheless, it's just such a rare opportunity that even when things are crazy, like the last thing you want to do is pull up and not have those experiences. And I would also really recommend bringing a journal and journaling everything and taking pictures and printing them out so that you can go back and look at them. You really forget about the number of things that you're able to do when you do these types of study abroad programs. So it's good to be able to record it so you can look back and remember everything.
That is really great advice. Thanks, Sydney. And we'll finish up with Miles. What are your words of wisdom for students?
Yeah, just have to agree with what everyone has said so far. And I think probably my advice would be don't be afraid, because you never know when a pandemic rolls up and takes all those opportunities away. But yeah, don't be afraid, because sometimes this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Don't be afraid to try new things, interact with the populace. As Sydney said, write stuff down, reflect. And of course, more importantly, just be appreciative of the opportunity and the time that you have studying abroad, because definitely for me, I remember going there, and then I remember halfway through it and being like, oh, I don't have much time left here in Madrid. So really just be reflective, be authentic, and just be mindful of the time you have there. Yeah.
Well, thank you again. You all have been so generous with your time and with sharing your stories today. And thanks to our audience. I know we're just at the end of the time we have allotted for today. So we want to just invite you, if you want to connect with one of our ambassadors or with one of our regional college relations managers, you can email us at study@iesabroad.org. And we'll be happy to connect you or help you get on your way to studying abroad. So thanks again for joining us today, everyone. Have a great rest of your Thursday.